Just hang out in Discord until someone offers you a job.
I think that's a pretty Web3 kind of thing.
You guys thinking about Kusama at all?
What?
What do you hope your legacy in the Polkadot space is? What do you hope you leave behind when it's all
I don't know.
done and buried?
The launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys blasting off with Polkadot community celebrity Birdo. Birdo, is there a last name on that?
Yeah, my last name is Bird. Yeah.
Your last name is Bird.
Yeah, so it's just like add an O,
Yeah.
and then you get Birdo. Yeah.
Blasting off with Birdo Bird, here to talk about his journey from whatever he was doing before to dominating every forum, every chat room on Polkadot, to joining the ranks of Gavin Wood and Robert Habermeyer in Parity. Birdo, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay,
Thanks,
well, I wanted to start with like real life before I met you on Discord. Like, what were you doing before Polkadot?
I don't know if there was a real life before Discord, was it? I think we were just all like cavemen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, before Polkadot. Well, I worked as like a product manager. So like I studied like project management and then worked like building mobile apps across like various different companies for
Ooh.
8-9 years, I think 8 years.
Gotcha.
So like worked in tolling and worked in healthcare and built apps for governments and all sorts of interesting stuff. So yeah, product management, and then I was actually working at like a fintech building their mobile app,
Yeah.
and worked with a designer there. He left, and then eventually he joined this company that was kind of prior to Talisman. And one day we went out for lunch, and he was just chatting to me, and he was talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum and wrapped Bitcoin and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah. And so something in my head kind of like clicked, because I had been interested in Bitcoin and Ethereum early on, but like oh yes, there's this digital money. Okay, great. That was the kind of level of interest. And I read some news articles, but it never really never clicked, I guess, to the point where I was like, I'll go and do something about it. And after talking with this guy, I was like, okay, like it's starting to, like the gears are starting to go. And then that night I went and downloaded Coinbase, and I bought like, I don't know, $50 of Bitcoin and $50 of Ethereum, something like that. Maybe it was $100,
Wow,
I don't
yeah.
know. And then I'm like, cool. And then I messaged my friend, I'm like, now what? And he's like, download MetaMask and like check out some dApps. And I'm like, the fuck is that?
Right.
It's pretty mind blowing, I think, right? Like
Totally.
being your own bank and hosting your own money and all that kind of stuff, right? And so I think for me, I was like, whoa, okay, like it's like scratching the surface, right? And there's just like so many more levels of detail and like learning and understanding you can go into.
Yeah.
And then basically then every night I was on Discord. I'd be like working, and then at night I'm like researching crypto stuff on Discord, chatting
Right.
with like different nerds, that kind of thing.
Okay, so you went from building apps for bureaucrats to building apps for those who are going to take down the bureaucracy. Is that kind of like
I mean,
the summary?
that's probably a pretty good summary. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
I mean, I'm not
fantastic.
sure if we're taking down bureaucracy just yet, but
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it would be nice, I guess.
So this company before Talisman, that was Agile's
Yeah,
company, right?
yeah, it was called Flex Steps, and so
Right,
they
right.
were essentially like a digital agency. They would work with Web3 companies that had like an idea or a vision or needed some help building out a project. So they had a team of, let's say, 10, 15, something like that, and so they would come and build a dApp or build like a little governance portal or something like that, right? So
And were you part of the team when Okay, you weren't.
No,
You joined when Talisman happened.
that's right, yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
essentially what happened was they had this, I mean, I'm telling a Talisman story, but anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
They had this opportunity to kind of build a wallet and had some interest. And I think like much like many other people that are probably listening to this, when they kind of read about Polkadot and found out about like the technology and some of the differences, they were like, because they'd been working in Ethereum for years, right? Being paid weekly in Ethereum, not too bad.
Yeah.
When they kind of like researched and discovered some of the stuff that Polkadot can do and some of the like, I think like step changes from like previous crypto tech,
Yeah.
they were like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. And it made so much sense to them that they shut down their company and like founded Talisman. And unfortunately, they had to let some people go. But like the four kind of core co-founders were like, okay, this is like we believe in this vision so much that we're going to shut down our company and totally pivot and build this new thing, right? So kind of joined the Discord very, very early on and like chatting with them and like helped out with, some like UX feedback and product feedback and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I was like monumental to the success, right? It was all them, right? But like helped out a little bit here and there. And then it kind of got to the point where they were like, oh, do you want to come full time? And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And so we did that.
Okay, so that's a lesson. Just hang out in a Discord until someone offers you a job.
I think that's a pretty Web3 kind of thing, right? Like, I think from what I found, and I worked for another company in Australia called Lyra Finance. They do like decentralized options trading on Optimism. And same kind of thing, right? Like I was active in the community and like chatting with the team and helping out with some feedback. And then eventually they were like, oh, do you want to like be rewarded for this thing you're already doing?
Yeah.
Why would I say no?
Sure.
But I also think like from what I've seen, lots of teams hire from within the community.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you're a company and you're wanting to hire a new person. Are you going to hire a person that's like super well versed in your product that also has the skills required to do the job? Or are you going to hire someone cold that like might have the skills but probably doesn't have a vested interest in what you're doing, hasn't made any effort? Like, no, you're going to go with the other way, right? So I think even when I was asking my friend, I'm like, oh, how do I get a job in crypto? And he's like, oh, on Twitter. And I'm like, what do you mean? Surely you would find a Web3 job on like LinkedIn or like a website. And he's like, nah. He's like, just message people on Twitter. And I'm like, I don't think the world works that way. And he's like,
it does.
It does.
It does.
And so I think, it's one of the interesting things about crypto is like, or Web3, this kind of Web3 environment is like you can find jobs in unconventional ways and kind of be paid in unconventional ways. And like I even think like you and the team are kind of like a success story of that, right? Like
sure,
you and the team have kind of come together to like make this thing. And I mean, did you post a job ad?
No, I just started pitching in until somebody kicked some KSM my way.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's kind of how it works in this world, which is kind of, I think, refreshing, right? It's like you don't have to go necessarily, I mean, some jobs, yes, but you don't always have to go through like this very formal process.
Yeah, totally.
So
we don't even have time for that, really. Okay, so tell me about the vibes in Polkadot when you first arrived, and maybe how they've evolved, leading up to your departure from Talisman.
There seems to be getting more and more people interested in governance, which is can be boring depending on your vested interest or not. So yeah, I mean, I think we see there's more people like evangelizing Polkadot, which is good. I think like for the last Polkadot Academy that was held in Buenos Aires, there were like 700 plus applicants.
Right. Yeah.
For 60, 70 spots.
Right.
And that demands up like a huge number, right? The next Polkadot Academy is going to be hosted in California, in Berkeley. I would imagine we get more than 700 applicants, right? So I think even just like little initiatives like that, we're seeing like grow pretty exponentially. And like those people that join that program are going to be the next wave of the community, like the next wave of developers, next wave of people that are going to come and like then talk about that to their friends. So your
mission in Talisman was really to make onboarding into Polkadot a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
And you got pretty far in that.
And I'm biased, obviously, as I worked on Talisman, but I think it's the best Polkadot onboarding experience that exists to date. There could be easier options, right?
Yeah.
there could be new things happen in the future that are even easier, right? But I think for where we are now of March 2023, it's the easiest experience to get going. Personally.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think there's still like a long way to go in general for like wallets and crypto and all that kind of thing, right? Like there's a big narrative of like account abstraction in Ethereum. Everyone's talking about EIP number 69, I don't know, whatever it is. And like in the Polkadot realm, there have been discussions about that, but I don't think anyone's really done it yet. I think Nova are doing a little bit with like proxy accounts and keyless proxies and that kind of stuff. So be interested to see how that develops this year, if Wallet Team's going to pick it up. But
what would that look like for a user?
Like one example in Ethereum is Argent Wallet. where I'm not sure if you've used it, but you don't have a seed phrase. You have like kind of guardians that can like help restore your account if you lose it. And
right.
So it's quite a different concept than what we have now. I think personally, I think seed phrases are the worst thing about crypto. To be honest, if you lose these words, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
You're like, what do I do with this thing? Do I just write it? Do I order a metal plate with the thing stamped in and buried in the garden, or like write it on a bit of paper and hope
The stakes are high.
hope
Right
the
off
house
the
doesn't
bat.
burn? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So like, and I think Ledger is good at helping solve that kind of like stress issue. You still have to write your seed phrase down,
Yeah.
but like at least with your Ledger, you feel a little bit more secure. And an interesting kind of parallel is I told my mum about what I do, right?
Yeah.
And my mum's like, I don't really understand. And so I said, well, like current day in the web, like all your data is owned by Microsoft or Google or third parties, right? And like this kind of new way of what we're trying to do is like you own it all, right? You own your money, you own your information, you own your data. And my mum's like, oh, yeah. That resonates with me. I understand that, right? That's what I'd prefer. But my mum also like turns the location services off on her phone and like doesn't like Google. Fair enough. And so like she would be very interested, I think, in like custodying her money by herself.
Yeah.
And not using a bank and not using Google or Facebook, right? But like, would she download a wallet application and write her seed phrase down and know how to store it and not get scammed? Like, I don't think so.
Right. And then overcome all the other barriers after you have a wallet, right?
In general, we have a long way to go to help make that easier.
Right.
I mean, that's just one kind of problem, right? But
So has your thinking shifted since you started at your role in Parity? Are you still thinking about the user end, or are you thinking about something separate now?
so my role at Parity is to work with the parachain teams, and like help. It's just to help them be successful, essentially. And so that might be like connecting them with different people in the ecosystem, or helping them connect with different third parties that Parity has a relationship with, or maybe not. I think it's less about the end user, like personally from my role.
Yeah.
Because I'm more dealing with parachain teams that are then dealing with dApps that then deal with third-party end users.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably a little less. I mean, it's still in my brain.
Yeah, right.
But it's not my job description,
What are the kind of problems that parachains come to you about frequently? What are the biggest barriers for them? A few?
No. I think it's more around like collaboration and information sharing. And so, like, for example, Parity is a really big organization, right?
Right.
There's 300 something employees.
Yeah.
And so, like, who do I talk to about this thing?
Yeah.
Who's the best contact for this thing, right?
Right.
And so some like a way I kind of like to describe the role is like an API between ecosystem and Parity, right? So if Parity people, they're also like, hey, like, who does this thing? Like, we want to talk to a team about this thing. I'd be like, hey, you could talk to this person, and connect them up, right? And so, like, if teams are interested in funding or working with a central exchange, or like, lots of different things like that. It's like it's like matchmaking.
Right.
A little bit. Tinder for parachains? I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure. I'm just making stuff up now.
And for a team to be able to have access to you, they need to be a parachain. Or do you also talk to parachains or teams looking to build a parachain as well?
Not me personally.
Okay,
Not me
okay.
personally. But we have, like at Parity, we have a builders team, which is like, they basically run the Substrate Builders program. And so if teams are interested in building a parachain, that's kind of the best team to talk to.
Yeah.
And so like the Substrate Builders program will help teams kind of like get set up and like review technical milestones. It's actually a pretty good program. Like the, some of the Parity core devs will help do code reviews for these parachains and like basically get them to launch, right? So I think it's a pretty good program.
Did you have any ideas about Parity that shifted once you actually got inside the organization?
I think one thing that people don't necessarily know or realize is like Parity is doing a lot of stuff. And I think that like as Parity, we don't communicate that very well.
Yeah. Parity is kind of hidden.
I think it's more just everyone's like
Busy.
heads down, focused on their thing, and like there's not always like enough thinking about like, oh, we should talk about this thing we've done. Like the core team will do a release every 3 weeks and like gets posted on the Element channel or something. But like that's pretty amazing. I think like there's a lot of work that goes on, right? And like I think also it just comes from different sources. Like Gav will tweet out something, like about the small dot release that just happened, like the 1.0. And so like I think like we're getting better at telling the story of the work that we're doing for the ecosystem, but could be better.
Do you think community members have perceptions of Parity that are maybe other perceptions that you can speak to now from the inside?
I mean, I think the biggest complaint, like prior to me joining, was around marketing, right? And I think that definitely think it's getting better. Like I think that we, and when I say we, I mean Parity, like hired a new CMO who's really awesome. Maybe it's like 8 months, I guess.
Wow.
And I think like a lot of the changes that he's putting in are going to be super helpful. Have been and will be super helpful for the ecosystem.
Yeah. It's been great in the past few months, I think. Like big steps.
Honestly, like truly believe it is getting better, right? Like,
yeah, I do.
Really good representation at events. We're seeing Rob do like more speaking slots, just to put the finger on him.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, right? Like I think to date we haven't been great at being part of the like crypto narrative around different things, right? Crypto narrative around interoperability or like block space, like Rob likes to talk about, or different things. And I think that we are getting better at being part of that. Like we need more speaking slots and we need to be in more events and all that kind of stuff. So
sure.
And we are, right? Like I was just chatting with Peters here today. I mean, he's over there somewhere. And he was kind of telling us today, like at Consensus, there's going to be like a big Polkadot booth and there's going to be 20 teams part of the booth, like representing Polkadot, right?
Nice.
And I think like we're growing to be the biggest kind of like multi-chain ecosystem in crypto.
Yeah.
If we're not already.
You guys thinking about Kusama at all? How's that fitting into the whole story here?
What?
Yeah, Kusama. It's this canary net Polkadot. It used to be huge.
Used to be huge, yeah. I mean, I think to be honest, like the focus is on Polkadot. Like that's the core brand, and that's the thing we really want to push, right?
Yeah.
Like naming conventions and branding and positioning. I think we'll move more and more to Polkadot.
Makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense. I think, and yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest issues is we have too much fragmentation around like names and naming conventions and different things, right? And so I think like the more we can direct the market to Polkadot, the more it makes sense, and the easier it is for people to onboard. But Polkadot is complex, right? Like it's not a Polygon, which is just like a single chain.
No, it's
with
never
applications
existed
still on top
before.
of it. It's never, this kind of thing has not really existed. You're right, and so like the concept is more complex than like Ethereum, a single chain. And is more complex even than I think Ethereum and L2s, because they're kind of, it's like this other thing that talks to this thing, but it's faster. Okay, cool, right.
Yeah.
And so we're like, no, this is like this thing with all these other things. Like it's a different concept, right? So the simpler we can make that, the better. And so there's a lot of effort, I think, going into that.
What do you hope your legacy in the Polkadot space is? What do you hope you leave behind when it's all,
I don't know.
Done and buried?
Someone asked me that in a job interview once. They
Yeah.
said, "What was your legacy at your previous company?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I'm not that important. I don't have a legacy."
Okay.
I don't know. Like,
What do you hope to leave behind with your work on Polkadot?
who says I'm leaving?
Well, we're all gonna leave at some point, Birdo. We're all gonna fly away.
Oh, really? No, I thought I'd just die. No, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, I think if anything, like for me personally, I think like advocating for users more and more is super important, especially at Parity. Parity is quite like tech focused, and we don't really have product as a role or a function because it's very developer focused, which is fine. But I think hopefully more and more we'll see some thinking about things that are developed with like end users in mind, and maybe the end users are parachains, right? Or maybe end users are dApps, or maybe end users are retail, or people. Maybe a naughty word. Anyway,
Did you say?
retail folk, end users.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like I think hopefully the legacy is have, at least as much as possible, having some more focus in the company around like end users and trying to make things more simple. And it's not just me, right? There's multiple people that are all thinking the same way and pushing for the same thing. So let's see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is my last question. Okay, but it's a bit of a tough one.
Okay.
All right. I'm interested in your top 3 Discord servers
Top 3 Discord servers.
in Polkadot and outside Polkadot?
The top one, you mean like in the mobile, in the app? The top one's
No,
actually...
no, just your favorites.
Oh, my
Ooh,
favorites.
yeah.
Oh, well...
Not at the top.
I play like a weekly D&D game.
Okay,
So that's actually the number one slot just because it's easy to find.
nice.
I'm in Talisman Discord
Okay,
and probably Chaos Tower.
Chaos Style.
Pretty easy top three, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have an interesting mind and an interesting perspective. It's really cool to have you in Parity, actually.
Yeah, thanks. I think Parity people don't really like to talk on Telegram or Discord.
Yeah.
And I think that, people today have said that it's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to have some more like community integration.
Sure. I mean, if they want to be one of many entities building with
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's the vision. The vision, I'll just talk for the whole company, but
Yeah, go for it.
the vision is that like Parity exists with the ecosystem and is not some sort of like master or like, some people say to me overlord, and I'm like, well, it's not really.
Right. But there is this journey to get to
100%,
this,
100%,
to that
yeah.
actual place, right?
100%. Yeah, and there'll be some interesting stuff coming out
Yeah.
about that, and you'll see. Probably around Polkadot Decoded.
This is the spinning pieces of Parity out.
This is kind of different.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think like that's the intention of Parity, right? The intention is to be like a co-working party alongside many parties.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I think the perception is we're not there. Right?
Yeah.
But that's the aim and the intention, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I think like we should be working together as an ecosystem,
Yeah.
like in all facets, in marketing, in business development, and like in building the core tech, and building dApps, and building parachains. We should be doing it together, right?
Yeah.
And I think like this is slightly off on a tangent, but the Interlay team recently did a proposal working with a credit card on-ramp called Bankser.
Yeah.
And I think that was really awesome because it's like the first multi-chain initiative that anyone has done, right? So like they took the lead on it and they did all the research. I mean, like myself and a few other people from Parity kind of helped and gave suggestions, but like they were the ones that led the process. They were the ones that like talked to all the parachains and got them on board. They wrote the treasury proposal. They worked with the company. Like that's the first time that, and then I think there's 10 or 15 parachains involved.
Yeah.
And that's the first time we ecosystem have ever done anything like that. And
Interesting.
that needs to happen more.
Yeah. This integration of Parity with the decentralized workforce or the
Yeah.
fragmented workforce. That's a big story, actually, and a
And-
big journey.
And to be honest, it just literally doesn't make sense for Parity or individual teams to be doing these deals, because like together if we can work together and harness like our collective minds and collective energy, like we can level up way quicker, right?
Yeah.
It's way better going to a company and being like, oh, we have a deal for like 40 individual teams that want to work with you. Do you think that gets their interest more than just one team?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
So like the more we do that, the more like we leverage our community power, I think. So
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
see.
Awesome. Birdo, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's great to
worries.
have you on.
Yeah, nice to chat.
And I hope we get to chat in a little while again. I'm sure you'll have new stories for us, and maybe doing like a whole new job or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
you have a
well,
lot of
let's see.
ideas, man. You have a lot of
Let's see.
ideas.
Yeah, there's a few things that I'd like to do, but let's see.
Yeah, brother. Thank you for coming on.